Hey guys, Anna here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build. Today we're in the world of Henford-on-Bagley, which is the world that came with the expansion Cottage Living, and we are building a British cottage that is, I guess, a little bit more of an old-fashioned style cottage. It would be an older property and it has a very closed floor plan, and yeah, it was supposed to be a smaller cottage that was 2 stories, and I wanted to build something in the downtown area as opposed to like the countryside. A lot of the builds that I have built in this world have been your more thatched roof cottages that, are, I guess, farm-esque. This is definitely not that. We do still have some livestock and some garden area in this build. I couldn't help myself, but it's not as, I guess, spacious as some of my cottages in the past. The most recent cottage I built on the channel is actually a really large cottage, and that's such a beautiful build. I will put that at the end of this build for sure if you'd like to stay around and watch that. Also, if if you're new to my channel, my name is Anna, and I build on The Sims 4, and I would love to have you join the channel. If you would consider subscribing, that would help me out a lot. I tend to build a lot of family homes. It's generally what I feel comfortable building. I think that I will probably like later in the year get into maybe some community lot building and whatnot, but this is what I like to build, and it's, I guess, because I build houses and then I use them for gameplay. Generally, that's why I build. I have a ton of builds on my gallery as well. So all sorts of builds, starter homes right through to, I guess, mansions and really large builds. Perfect for all family sizes. So if you do need something like that, please check out my gallery. My gallery ID is in the description below. It will have this build along with several others. All right, so a little bit about this build. So as I said before, I wanted to build a small British style cottage in the center part of Henford-on-Bagley, but it turned out to be a much larger home. And I guess the main inspiration for this build was a combination of the floor plan and the neighboring houses. So I used the neighboring houses to kind of gauge the color scheme of the exterior of this build. I don't normally build something that is quite dark in color scheme and more moody. And this particular build, I saw a lot of the neighboring houses had more of a darker, like a darker roof or a darker chimney, and more potentially like darker windows and a lighter colored building. So I kind of took inspiration to that, and I used this beautiful, like, I would say it's like a milk chocolate colored chimney, and then I went and I used a darker color scheme for this build, and I really like it. It's so different to all of the other cottages I've built in Henford-on-Bagley in the past since this pack came out. So it's interesting. So when I started building properly in The Sims 4, it is when Cottage Living came out, and it's why I think it is one of my favorite packs in the game, is purely because I have a very sentimental, I guess, feeling. I have sentimental feelings with this pack. Okay, so at this point, we have very much finalized what I call the shell of the build, and I'm just kind of finalizing all of the knits and pieces. So this is where I start with the wallpaper. As you can see, I've used the brick that comes with Cottage Living, and I have gone in with a darker color and that beautiful chocolate color on the front facing chimney. So this build actually has 2 chimneys, a front facing chimney and one off to the side as normal, and I really like this. I really like the windows that I've used in this build. They are the windows that are very complementary to the front door of the build. I definitely feel like in most of the Sims 4 expansion packs, they have, when they do the build modes, they have like different build styles, and I've definitely used all of the windows in this kind of set. and I've just layered them strategically. And yeah, they just, I really love it. I really love those, single tiled windows that have the shutters. They're really cute. And I just, yeah, this bay window front section gave me a little bit of grief. I didn't know what to do with it. And I do think that having this little window that has the fact section on it was quite cute. It's the only part of the roof that has that detailing. The rest of the roof is just a base game kind of staggered shingled roofing, which I think works quite well. All right, so I have talked over the floor plan, so we can go over a little bit. So you walk into this beautiful entryway where you have the staircase, and that staircase is the single reason why this build was so difficult to do the floor plan on, because the upstairs is quite small and I really struggled with the bedroom placement. So downstairs you have that open area. So to the far right you have the kitchen and dining. You then have a master bedroom, and the downstairs bathroom is off the kitchen. So quite an interesting layout. We also then have this center room that's kind of between the master bedroom and the living area. That becomes a study. And then you have the far left side, which is your living room, which is in this beautiful long section. We end up I believe we put like a piano and like a seating area. And then from that area, you have access to the back property, which is where the back porch is. And that back porch it's very small area in the back. And we put in what we're doing now, which is the fence area. So at this point now, I'm mapping out the landscaping. This build didn't really come together until I did the landscaping. And I think it's been a theme at the moment with my building where I have a concept, I start playing around, I start building, but it doesn't ever really feel like it clicks until I do the landscaping. But once I do the landscaping, it comes together. Now, speaking of the landscaping, I decided to add a pond, which is what I'm doing here. So when Cottage Living came into The Sims 4, this was the major base game feature that came in to the game. And I had this little front area and I thought that it would be okay. Now, I don't know if having a pond in more of this downtown area would be suitable. I definitely think that this would be something that if this lot was more in the countryside, it would be perfect. But I liked it. I liked the concept of having this little front area, and it's got that beautiful flowered archway that I've never used. I've never used this piece. And it's just a beautiful little sitting area. And I can just see that it's just really cozy and lived in, and I liked it. And it's not massive, so it doesn't take away from the build, but I think that it was a way that I could section the exterior because there was so much room. So even though it's a big house, I find when you have a more horizontal lot that you can position the main building in a way that you can allow different spaces in your exterior. So for here, for example, I've got where the cow goes, I've got the gardening spot, I've got the pond, I've got walkways. I've fenced it in a way that makes it very intentional for gameplay purposes, but also for the overall aesthetic of the build. And I really enjoy the exterior of this build. It is beautiful. And one of the things that makes it so easy to do is the debug menu of Cottage Living. It is one of the best, if not the best in the game. I really enjoy all the flowers. It's got these beautiful roses and some yellow flowers. I've used yellow and pink quite a lot because it pairs really well with brown, which pairs really well with the exterior wallpaper. And I used a little bit of, I think it was Get Together, and because it's got that same kind of color scheme and vibe. I don't know, it worked really well. These little balcony, oh no, they're Cottage Living actually. I've gone in with these plain layloing flowers. I had to get these from, I think, the Horse Ranch pack in the debug menu, but they're perfect. I didn't want to use the ones that were in base game, even though I am incorporating a lot of yellows in the exterior. So this is the back. It's very small. I'd almost say that there's not really a backyard in this build, but it's more of a side yard, but it holds its purpose. This base game pebbled pathing in the terrain paint was really lovely. Again, it added a little bit more dimension to the landscaping as opposed to it being just on plain green grass. Having the stone kind of elevates it, makes it look a little bit more lived in. And the fact that the path is a little bit more sporadic and not really formal and defined, it just, I don't know, just makes it, yeah, again, like that this building's been there for a long time. And I guess that's what I was trying to aim for. I wanted this to be really like overgrown, really lived in, and that, this is potentially a cottage that a family has lived in for many generations that they've passed down. All right, we are starting the decorating. I have starting from the front door in the entryway, and this is just so beautiful, this space. I decided to put in this lovely fireplace. I believe this one comes from, I don't think it's Horse Ranch. Might be Adventure Waits. I'm not sure. No, it's Horse Ranch, sorry. Perfect. I just think it's such quite a unique thing to put in an entryway, but it was small and it just looked really old fashioned, and that's exactly what I wanted. I used, as expected, a lot of cottage living in the decoration of this build. It's got lovely assets that are all complementary. The wallpaper is spot on. It's that beautiful floral kind of sage green, cottage green. I don't know. Cottage green, yeah, kind of color wallpaper. And I've just used like reds and whites and yellows just to complement that color scheme. So very basic kitchen and dining, not a huge space in there, but this isn't meant to be a massive home as well. It is meant to be on the, I would say, the medium side. It's not really small. As I said, through that door there, you have the bathroom. So the downstairs bathroom is through that door. It is a very spacious bathroom as well. I was able to use the tub that comes from Cottage Living and just be able to, I think I put in a shower potentially. Maybe I don't. Yeah, I think I do. Yep, just rearranging the cabinetry and very basic. Lots of clutter in this build. And I also put in some candles. I thought that candles would, again, we're adding to this ambiance of, vintage and old and dated, but then also having that cottage vibe as well. So I really love some of the assets that I've used. So it's quite interesting. You've got this big room, but it's very close to the kitchen. I don't usually do a master bedroom so close to the kitchen. But then again, the door to this room is from the main hallway. So I guess it's okay. I've gone and used a base game bed in red. I've used the ottoman that comes from Horse Ranch. This beautiful armchair, one of my favorites in the game, comes from Cats and Dogs in a green. It's got a little bit of red in the blanket, and I think that pairs well with the bed itself. I love the dresses that we got from Horse Ranch. A lot of Horse Ranch in this build. Again, it's rustic, it's old, it's, and it's got like details on the hardware, like the handles and things, and it's just, you wouldn't find it in a traditional build. This beautiful red clock I thought was perfect for the master bedroom because we were going in with that theme. Very basic bedroom, not too much to it. We're then moving into this central room. This was probably the one part of the house where there was a little bit of a disconnect. I didn't really know what to do with this space. Decided to make it into a study. I used the table that comes from Life and Death and a chair that comes from Cats and Dogs. And we use the typewriter computer that comes from Cottage Living. And I use this couch. This is actually from Paranormal Stuff. I don't really know why I use this couch, to be fair. I think there is actually some better options. There's the couch that comes from even Adventurer Waste that looks a little bit more lived in and rustic. I don't really know why I chose that couch. Sometimes it happens with my decorating where I choose an object where it's not really, doesn't really match the rest of the theme. Now, in that space, it would have been perfect to put a chess table, but in the end, I put it out on the back porch. I think that's okay. It gives a reason for a sim to go to the back property, back half of the property, because otherwise there's just nothing there. They wouldn't even need to use it. Okay, we are at the far left side of the build and we are building the living room. Now, I did think it was too many curtains. I did look at this and go, oh, that's a lot of white. But there is white in the wallpaper, so I think it's okay. We do end up removing some of the curtains, I believe. I just felt like there were too many windows in that space. I loved this kind of bay window seating. So this comes from Cats and Dogs. I think it's the more outdoorsy one compared to the other one, but I loved it. Like the little handles that are on the drawers and the under part, it just looked elegant and it suited the rest of the build really well. You've got a lot of growing together, cottage living, cats and dogs. The fireplace comes from paranormal stuff, and it's just such a beautiful living room. And I put in a toy box. It's an odd shaped living room. It's quite narrow compared to the rest of the build, but I think it's a good use of the space. So yeah. All right, we are upstairs and we are building a further 2 bedrooms and I guess a landing space. I have built the second bathroom there, but you'll see more of that in the tour. I generally only furnish one in my speed build portions, and this was just a child's room. I, of course, used the bed that came from high school years. I could have used, I don't actually, is there a bed that comes with cottage living? I'm not sure. I kept this room very basic. I didn't add, kind of had a little bit of a theme. I did end up changing the wallpaper. I felt that a kid's room, it would make sense to have a different wallpaper as opposed to the stock standard wallpaper that I've been using for the rest of the house. All right, the final room is more of an adult's room. This could be a spare bedroom. This could be your master bedroom if you wanted it to be. It is a beautiful room. I copied the fireplace from downstairs. I've got this beautiful kind of dark grey scaled but neutral color scheme that I use. I use this kind of vanity. This comes from, it was from kind of a login claim your rewards event that has been going on recently. And I fit this room so beautifully. I just love this room. This is gorgeous. Like, I think this would have to be my favorite room of the house. And we do end up changing the wallpaper to more of like a chocolatey brown, and it's beautiful. All right, we are now live in game and we're just going to go through the tour. So you enter in through the entrance, beautiful open space, very inviting, and you go into the kitchen. From the kitchen, you have the downstairs bathroom, very spacious in there. You then have, I guess, what you would call the master bedroom, but this is feeling more like a spare bedroom. I feel like the upstairs is more like the master bedroom. Down the hall, you have that kind of odd room, which I've done as a study. And to the left side of the build, you have that living room. Wonderful space. Yeah. Really like all of the things that are in here. You've got some children's stuff, some skill building. You head upstairs into the upstairs bathroom, very small in there, has everything you need, very similar to the downstairs. Into a child's room. It's obviously blue and fun. And then lastly to this gorgeous master bedroom. This is beautiful. Love the color scheme in here. It's gorgeous. You then head outside. You have a chess table You have your bin for the property. You walk down through the gate. You have your livestock where you'd have your cow or your llama. You have your gardening. You have a seating area with a pond. And you just have this, just such a beautiful house. Like, I love it so much. I love the debug gate that I've used and how it's permanently open. And yeah, and that is the build today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's build. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.